our older people talk about how these kids, these young kids, this youth is out here killing each other, shooting each other, murdering each other, fighting against each other for blocks, for neighborhoods that they don't even own. They have no ownership of. They're fighting for ownership of a block that they don't have no true ownership of. They're willing to kill each other, make themselves thousandaires by selling poison to the community, selling poison to their neighbors, having their neighbors afraid to go to a mailbox, leave for work, taking down people's property value because you're standing out there on the corner fighting, drug dealing for a neighborhood that you don't own. But when investors and realtors come in and buy these neighborhoods and reinvest in these neighborhoods and build them up, they kick them out without even an attempt of resistance. Not saying that you should be sitting here trying to shoot at realtors and investors, not saying that. But the point is, how is this a case? How is the situation where you're making so much money off the neighborhood, but do very little to invest back into it, to even buy any property in the neighborhood? Why don't you listen to the elders, young people? But these same elders who are talking about these young people and telling them about not ownership, killing and fighting against each other, don't own no stake in their neighborhoods either. I mean, they lived there for 60 years, raised their kids in neighborhoods, raised their grandkids and great-grandkids. Maybe they used to sell freeze cups or had a candy shop in their neighborhood they used to sell at their house. Maybe they've been there forever and seen the neighborhood change, but they don't own anything. And more importantly, are forced out once gentrification come in and these realtors and investors come in and start to invest in the neighborhood, pushing these older people out because just like the young people are selling drugs, they don't own any property in the neighborhoods either. But I guess the young people still should listen to them about buying and investing into these neighborhoods, even though the elders refuse to. But I'm guilty of it too, because I sit here and I talk to you guys about, there is no training about money for the youth. And there's no training about money for the poor and disenfranchised neighborhoods. And we need to have more classes and more talk about economics and how money works and how the business side of things work. And then one day, it all hit me. In a conversation I had with my brother-in-law, it all hit me. And he didn't even mean to bring it up. That's the weird thing about it. He didn't even have the intention of bringing this enlightenment to my life. He was talking about a game. He was talking about playing games on game night. And he just mentioned this one game. We all know it because if you ever play family game night in your household, something that we'll get to in a second, you heard this game before. You ever heard this game called Monopoly? You ever heard of Monopoly? Hasbro make this game a very popular game. You buy property. Most times when you're playing Monopoly, you want to be the little silver car or you want to be the dog, because at least them, they move around, you're driving the car and stuff. The car looks cool, old school car. The point is game Monopoly. What's the aspect, what's the summary of how do you play a game Monopoly? Well, each player is given a certain amount of money, and the object of the game is to buy property. You roll a little dice, 2 dices, and you move around. You land on property. If you got enough money, you buy a property. If one of the other players land on your property, what happens? They have to pay you rent. The object of the game is to eliminate all the other players, to get all the money from every other player, basically to bankrupt every other player until you're the only person on the board with actually any money in ownership of all the property. And it made sense to me. I said, this is economics right here. This is the education economics in the form of a game. And a lot of us say, well, I don't play games. I don't play games. What's the problem? You should, because the life is a game. And Monopoly is a clear representation of how much life is a game. Every single day that you're rolling the dice, trying to figure out what's your next move. You living right now, you're landing on someone's property right now. Right now, a lot of you right now are landing on someone's property, paying rent. And as that person builds up that property, what does it do? The rent increase. Similar to Monopoly. Going back to the game Monopoly, people. When you go back to Monopoly, you buy property, you put an apartment on there. You add on to a property. You start building up. What happens when you start building up? When a person or another player lands on that property, the property value goes up, which means they have to pay you more rent. It's the same thing happening right now with you in your life. Look at the similarities to your life in the game. You say you don't play games, but in reality, that's exactly what you're doing. Life is just one big game. And when we talk about not understanding, not knowing about economics, what you learn about economics is just playing simple games like Monopoly. It teaches you the importance of paying and buying property, something we talked about. It teaches you about gentrification. Many people are like, I didn't even know gentrification was a word or what it really means. Well, Monopoly was showing you what gentrification is. Buying the property in certain neighborhoods, making the rent too high for certain people or players to be able to afford to live there or even land on that property. Forcing people out. Forcing people to go bankrupt. Why? Greed, which will imprison us all, is the leading factor. Is the main point. The main objective of Monopoly is for you to be the main benefactor and to bankrupt every single other player. The reality of the game is, in life, it teaches you exactly how economics work in this country. Because the reality of the situation. In Monopoly, if you run out of money, you get a little low on money, you can always borrow money from the bank, but you got to pay it back. Similar to the situation right now you have. But similar to Monopoly, we go back to real life for a second. When you borrow money from bank, what a lot of people don't understand and pay attention to is interest. I just had this conversation with my wife. My wife and my sister. My sister went and bought another car, bought a new car, and my wife wants to buy a new truck. And what I explained to them both is, when you talk about down payments, all that thing, no such thing, the down payment only takes, every $500 to $1,000 only going to take $20 off of your car payment. But people think, well, if I can put a lot of money down, then I'll get my car payment down. Well, here's the understanding, people. And some of you are not going to listen to this, but some of you who want to learn, here's an opportunity to learn about economics and how the banking system works. Here's the thing, people. Interest is what caused your car payment to go higher. Interest is what caused you to pay more money on your car payment. Getting a lower interest rate is what's truly going to really get that car payment down to the point you want to be. Why is your interest so high? Because the bank looks at you like a higher risk. It's similar to you loaning money to your cousin Eric, or your cousin Vicky. You know your cousin Vicky or your cousin Eric is not reliable. That's why when they come to you asking for $20 until next Friday, you ain't giving it to them because you know the likelihood of you getting that $20 back is zero. Well, a bank looks at you the same way. It looks at you and say, okay, what's the likelihood of you actually paying back this loan, paying back this money I give you? Yeah, you want this house, this car, and you want flaws for a week or two, but when it's time to pay, when you get to your fifth and sixth payment, are you going to consistently pay on this car, or are we going to lose money? Because as you know, cars depreciate value. So they charge you higher interest rates, hoping to gain back as much capital as they can from you before you default on your loan. Now, if by any chance, now go off subject for a second, people. We'll get back to Monopoly in a second. But by any chance you actually live up to the priority of paying a loan, then hell, they just make a boatload of money off you. You get a car, they make a boatload of money off you. That's how banking works. But in the game of Monopoly, they loan you money to buy property, to invest in like such things like railroads. If we all don't understand or not benefactors of history, here's the thing. Back in the day, before planes, trains, and automobiles, all this world opened up to the big place it is now, railroad tracks was a huge thing to invest in. But again, I digress. So in Monopoly, it's not surprising that they talk about investing in railroads because before Netflix, Google, and Apple became these big companies that they became, there was railroad. The point is, in the game Monopoly, it teaches us about owning property, investing in property. It teaches about economics and how the world works. The crab in the barrel, which lives not only in the black community, but in every poor community in the world. The crab in the barrel mentality, where we don't sit here and help each other up. We climb on each other's back to pull each other off. We sit here and put each other and overcharge each other for things, goods that we need in order to bankrupt our neighbors, bankrupt our friends in order to increase our financial gain. This is what we do, people. This is what we do. And the game Monopoly teaches you all about that. It teaches you about the importance of owning property, owning land. Because here's the thing. As you look at inflation that's happening all around the country, all around the world, prices are going up on milk, eggs, houses. You're going down for a rent in a bad neighborhood. In some places, you're paying $2,000 a month for a 2-bedroom house in a neighborhood that you might get shot in as soon as you walk out the door and get in your car. How can you fight back against inflation? How can you avoid those type of inflation? Well, buying a home. Going back to Monopoly, buying property, buying a home, buying apartments, buying condos if you want to use a fancy word for apartment, buying condos. You want to be fancy. Because if you buy your own property, you own your own land, guess what happens, people? You're not in a position where rent goes up anywhere else. Your mortgage stays the same. You can control where you live. No one can force you out. And if they do try to push you out, they got to pay you a significant amount of money to purchase your property, and then it's your choice on whether you want to stay there or leave. You see that? So, for instance, going back to the game Monopoly. We playing the game Monopoly, and we're going to take it right back to Monopoly, people. Hasbro, the game Monopoly. Let's take it back to Monopoly for a second. You a player playing Monopoly, right? You roll your dice, you land on the property. You know, they want to pay you rent. The rent is $200, $500. I mean, I know it's not reality in the real world, but let's just say for the sake of the game, $500 rent. But you're saying, well, hey, because in Monopoly, you can do this, yo, how about I buy your property off? I'm going to pay you $5,000 for your property. $500 rent, $5,000, you know, depending on how greedy it is, that's it. Greed will imprison us all, people. Greed will imprison us all. I'll tell you a story before the show ends about how greed imprisons us all, okay? Just remind you. The point is, you pay for that property, bam, you land on that property. Now, you own that property that you almost paid $500 to land on. Now, you own that property. Now, every time somebody else lands on that property, they have to pay you. Now, you can look at it like, well, I could have just paid $500, and now I'm out $5,000, or you can look at, I'm out $5,000 now, but I'm about to make $500,000 tomorrow or later, because now, that person who I just gave them $5,000 for, they got to pay me $500 every time they land on this property. Then everybody else who lands on this property have to pay me $500. And the more and more property I buy, the more and more value that I increase. The more I build up and invest in this property, the more valuable this property gets. And that person who you paid $5,000 is going to look like, man, I'm tired of paying you. I think I sold that property to you too short. You know, I need to come buy it back. Now you look, I'll give you $5,000 back. You're like, oh, no. Because in the game Monopoly, you can add houses, apartments, buildings, all kinds of skyscrapers. Sky's the limit. You're like, well, I added a lot to this property. So now, you know, I'm thinking 500,000. 100,000 times what you made off of that property. And the real value is, and we're going to leave Monopoly, go back to the real world, people. The real value is, people, for a lot of us right now, when we retire, I'm not just talking about black people, I'm talking about disenfranchised people all around the world. A lot of us, when we retire, what we worry most about is, how can we retire and live comfortably? Because one of the things we worry about is health insurance. And as you get older, people, it's a big thing you got to focus on. How are you going to pay for health insurance? What's the other most important thing you want to worry about? Food? No, not really, because, you know, you can put yourself on a budget to, you know, make food. Ramen noodles is not that bad. You know, most people live off them in college. What else? Car payment? You know, you can get a little squire. Once you pay your car off, you ain't really worried about that. You ain't really worried about flossing as you get older. You don't care about none of that stuff. So what else can you worry about? Going to movies? Yeah, movies don't cost that much. You can go on Tuesdays, pay $5 to go to movies. So what is left that you worry about when you retire? Oh, paying rent. Yes. How am I going to pay rent and have a place to live once I retire, now that I'm on fixed income and I'm renting this property and I have to live every single day worrying about whether my landlord is going to raise the rent or sell the property, and the next landlord is going to come in and inflate the rent to a point that I can't afford to live here. Or worse, what if gentrification comes and realtors or investors come into the neighborhood and see something that we don't see, invest in the neighborhood and make it so pricey and so nice that I just can't afford to live there no more. Now, my fixed income becomes a problem, which leads me to work a lot longer and not to be able to retire or lose sleep at night when I'm thinking about retiring. Now think about this, people. For all my young people who listen to this show, for all people who ain't that young listen to this show, hear me. You get a 30-year mortgage, right? If you're 30 years old, 39, 35 years old, think about it. By the time you pay off your mortgage, we talk about if you pay the full term, you're 65. You're just about to hit the door of retirement. Now, once you retire and you paid off your mortgage, paid off your house, guess what? You're no longer paying anything but taxes at the end of the year, which is about, let's say, $2,000, $3,000, maybe $4,000, depending on where you live. It can be as high as $5,000. Now, that's $5,000 one time a year. Not every month, one time a year that you got to come up with. Now, divide that by 12 months. You do the math. I'm not even going to work on it right now. I'm not even going to do it. You do the math. Now, let's say, for some of your older people talking about, well, I'm 40 years old, I ain't got 30 years. What if you paid your house off in 15 years? What if you doubled down on your mortgage? Paid your mortgage, paid twice your mortgage every single month. You double down, pay it down 15 years. By the time you retire again, before you retire, guess what? You ain't paying rent. You ain't got a mortgage. You're paying taxes one time a year, people. Economics. Economics, people. Now you got a nice little nest egg because one, you're not paying rent no more. You're not paying a mortgage. So if you're paying $1,000 a month for mortgage, that's $12,000 a year. Now you have to invest into your retirement plan or your savings to increase your value. So when you ready to retire, you're not losing sleep no more because all you got to focus on is paying off your health insurance. That extra $12,000 you didn't capped off of your house didn't take care of that. So the fixed income you living off, you pay off everything else. Now you made your house work for you. Going back to the game Monopoly, it's all about making the properties that you buy, the properties that you invest in, working for you to increase your profitability while decreasing everybody else's. Now in the game of life, we're not talking about decreasing everybody's profitability and making them bankrupt. We ain't talking about that. We simply talk about how you can take advantage of the assets that you own using some economic truths, solutions, and tools that's taught in Monopoly. The game Monopoly. Hasbro, game Monopoly. Using this, investing in properties, investing in businesses. For instance, like I said, back in the day, railroads was like Apple, Google, and all the Yahoo, and all these big sites, Amazon. They were those sites. People who work for these companies, like railroad companies, used to get something, and young people, you probably never heard this before because companies don't give these to you no more, but something called a pension. And when we talk about retirement again, pensions usually was what companies used to give you as an incentive to work for you, work for them. And when you retire, you have a nice pension that you can live off. So you're not living off Social Security alone. You have money that the company invested for you to make sure that you can live more comfortably when it comes time to retire. But that doesn't exist anymore, right? But I digress. That's what people used to get when they used to work at railroads. Very good pension. But the point is, let's say, okay, you invest in Google, Amazon, or you find a company that's going to come up, such as Uber was at one point, and you invest in this company. You start to invest your money into stocks and bonds. Some of you are investing your money in crypto. I'll get to that in a whole nother subject. That's a whole nother subject in general. I don't feel like how you feel with crypto, but whole nother subject. Point is, you invest in your money because you're not just trying to get rich quick. You're trying to think about the long game because that's what investment is. What stock market is, it's thinking the long game. A lot of people get confused with stocks and ready to jump out because they're not making money as quickly as they thought they was. Stock market is a long game. You understand? Like Monopoly, a very long game. If you play Monopoly, it's one of the games you probably never finish because it takes forever to bankrupt everyone on the board. It takes forever to get everyone's money, okay? A little easier in real life than it is on the board. But the point is, you invest into these businesses and stuff. You take money, you store it like you do in Monopoly. When you invest in the railroads, you invest in Park Avenue, you invest in these houses and build it up. It increases value into your account. It increases your income. It increases your portfolio. It increases you to make you more comfortable when it's time to retire, or if you want to just retire early and travel the world, such as I want to do. There's lessons of economics in Monopoly. Monopoly is a true game of socialism. Capitalism. What this country is made on, capitalism. Meaning everybody's trying to get rich. Big bank takes little bank. This is what capitalism is. They call it the American dream. We call it capitalism, where I get rich while making you poor. That's why it's only 2% of the country is rich, where the other 98% is sitting here living check to check, mouth to mouth, foot to mouth, trying to make it and survive. And then what we say is, well, no one's teaching us about economics. No one teaches it. No one teaches. They don't teach it in school. But when a teacher breaks out of the game and say, okay, it's Friday. We've been working hard all week. Let's play a game of Monopoly. You say no one's teaching us about economics. But when she broke out the game of Monopoly, that's exactly what she was teaching. She was teaching you about economics, and you just didn't even know it. You was playing a game and didn't even know you was learning about economics, learning about investments, learning about how to increase your portfolio, how important it is to invest in properties, how important it is to not only invest in properties, but invest your money further in properties by building it up. How when you actually rent out property, when someone lands on your property in real life, decides to rent out your property, or your office space, or your warehouse space, that it actually causes you income every single month, every single year. It increases you. But this is the game of Monopoly. It's more the game of life. The game of life is a roll of dice, people. We roll a dice every single day. hoping that we land on the right property, hoping we land on Park Avenue, and we get the opportunity, we have the right amount of money to buy Park Avenue, to live our higher life, to live our best life, because we know if we buy Park Avenue, that now we made the money. Because if you ever play game Monopoly, you know you have Park Avenue, you have Boardwalk, and if you can get those two, then you know you in the money. If you can hold them to it, you put some Park Avenue or the Boardwalk, and put some houses up there, and then somebody land on it. Woo! You ready to clean bank? You ready to clean house? But again, the game Monopoly teaches us how to have a crab in the barrel mentality. But the thing is, when you talk about crabs in the barrel, I think Jay-Z say this recently, crabs were never meant to be in a barrel. Nor were we. We were never meant to be put in a barrel. We were never meant to be put in a barrel. We were meant to have a fair shake, a fair opportunity. And we can't sit here and talk about, well, what someone didn't give us and what someone didn't do for us. Like I said, opportunities are found you every single day. Every single day. I'm going to butcher this quote, but this is one of my favorite quotes. It's by Lex Luthor from Superman. He said, a person can read War and Peace and see it as a simple adventure story. Another person can read the back of a bubblegum wrapper and unlock all the secrets of the world. You may not understand that, but let me break down what that quote means and why it's one of my favorite quotes. It's one of my favorite quotes is this. Simply just like when my brother-in-law told me about just mentioning the game Monopoly and how it unlocked so many different aspects of how life works, how life functions, and teachable moments of how we can build and how important it is to invest in property to increase our profits, to increase our livelihood, to make more money for us as a teachable moment to teach my children the importance of how to make money, how to invest not only in property, but in businesses, how to try to avoid going to jail because you can go to jail in Monopoly. How if you pay us $200, you get $200 and you get stimuluses and such things. It teaches you so much about capitalism, about the world that we live in. That's what it means about reading the back of a bubblegum wrapper and unlocking the secrets of the world. Because we talk a lot about how no one's giving us opportunities, how no one's teaching us lessons, how school is not teaching us this, how our homes are teaching us this, when there's lessons all around us. There's lessons literally all around us. But the question is, how hungry are you to learn? How hungry are you to actually learn, to find the jewels and gems and lessons that's being dropped all around you? How hungry are you to pick up these things and to utilize these things to benefit and increase your livelihood? Now, what he also says, some people can read War and Peace and think of it as a simple adventure story. Some people can read The Rich Dad, break it down again. I talked about it in the previous episode. New Slaves, people, if you didn't listen to the episode, listen to New Slaves, where I talked about Richest Man Babylon book. Some people can read that book and just simply look at it like it's an old-time book back in the day where some dude was poor and he needed somebody to help him feed him and told him a bunch of stories and stuff about how poor and broke he was. Some people will look at that story as just some lonely poor old guy just wandering through life trying to figure it out. And other people will unlock the secrets of the world of how that story can teach you how you're slaves to money, how you got to release yourself, how to invest your money, the importance of saving your money, the importance of seeing yourself as a king and not a peasant. It depends on how you look at life and where you are mentally, people. Some people watch the show and look at it like, yo, this dude always preaching, and he's so aggressive, he always yelling at me. And other people look at the show like, God damn, I gotta watch the show every single week because I know for a fact this dude Gray dropped some knowledge on you. Alan Gray dropped some type of knowledge. He Gray unlocked something in my brain that's been locked for years. He Gray showed me how I've been missing what's been in front of me this whole time. He just told me about buying a car. He just unlocked the secret about buying a car, how these banks really work. He unlocked the secret about it. I'm sitting here all this time trying to stack up all this money. I'm like, yeah, if I come there with $10,000 for a down payment, yeah, this is going to make my chance of buying a car better. It's going to lower my car payment. And I'm sitting there looking, well, I gave you all this money. Well, why my car payment only went down like $50? Well, because your interest rate is higher. But why is my interest rate higher? It's because your credit is bad. So instead of you taking $10,000, giving it to the bank or to this dealership, take that $10,000 and start paying off that off your credit. Start paying that off your credit. Then give it time, people, because like I said, stock market, give it a month or two. Then watch your credit score start rising. Start paying your bills on time. Watch your credit score start rising. Then go to that dealership. Go to that dealership. Go to any dealership you want in the country. Go to a BMW, Mercedes, Lexus, Infiniti, Cadillac dealership. After you paid up, got your credit score, go into the same dealership with not a single penny in your pocket and ask them for the car you want, for the price you want, and see how many banks are going to compete for your damn business because you raise your credit score up and they see you as a dependable buyer, as a person you want to give money to, as a person that they're going to make money off of. And they're willing to say, yo, man, listen, I'm willing to make at least $1,000 off you because I just want your business. Because I want to be in the company of someone who I can trust. It's the same as you, people, and understanding. It works the same way with housing and every other thing. If you build up your credit, you build up your opportunity to buy houses. So older people, stop sitting here talking about what these kids are doing and how they're doing what they're doing, and start showing them how to do better. Start by buying up the house in your neighborhood. Start by buying things and teaching them to buy things. But before I run out of time, people, because I told you I'm going to tell a story real quick, and I'm about to run out of time, so I'm going to tell you a story. Watch this movie, Rush Hour, and they told a story. They talked about how this rich man had all his gold, right? He had all the gold in China. And because he wanted to protect the gold, what he did was he put it in a cave. But he was afraid people would still get it, so what he done was he raised the dragon up. Raised the dragon up from a tiny little egg to a huge dragon. And the dragon was put in front of the cave, taught to guard that cave, so that no one can come. And anyone that tried to attack this rich man's cave, the dragon spit fire and burned him to death. Point is, the rich man one time came to the cave, the person who owned the cave, rich guy, who raised the dragon up, came to the cave to withdraw some of his gold. The dragon killed that man. What's the moral story? Greed will imprison us all. See what happened? Greed of that man put his money and tried to save him because he didn't want no one to touch it. He stored it in the cave, put a dragon out there to protect it, but he didn't think about the dragon was there to protect the gold, not protect him, protect the gold. It imprisons us all. So stop looking at greed and start being smart. Monopoly, people, when you play a game, you can unlock all the secrets of the world. But you buy your own property, your own home, your own land, you never have to worry about inflation or raising rent or anyone kicking you out because you own it. And the day you try to sell it is the day you make a profit to then again you buy land, home, and travel the world wherever you want to. One last thing I'm leaving with before I leave today. There's another saying, when there's blood on the streets, buy property. What that means is, you think because the neighborhood's bad and is down that there's not time to invest in, that's the perfect time to buy property, to buy into businesses when they're small. It's not good to buy into Apple, Google, once they're huge conglomerates. It's best to invest in them when they're at the bottom floor, when you're getting there low, because that's how you make your money. Think about it, people. I want to thank you for joining me for another episode of the Past to Present podcast. Go out and play Monopoly, people. And until next time I see you, stay woke, stay focused, most importantly, stay tuned. Peace.